Let's see what is the big problem with single subject design. The big problem happens when an outside event happens exactly the day that you start your treatment. For example, in this picture, you see this is the baseline, and then something happens on between observation 2 and observation 3 that causes the score or the performance to go up before you start your treatment. That's an easy case, and you know that even before you start your treatment the score went up. In this example also, you see the baseline is stable, and then you start your treatment and nothing changes, and then right after the outside event happens the score goes up. Again, this is also easy to interpret. You know that your treatment didn't trigger the change, but an outside event happens after you started your treatment and the score went up due to that outside event. But sometimes the outside event happened exactly the same day or the same time your treatment starts, and as a result you don't know the change in score is due to your treatment or due to the outside event. And even more important is that most of the time we don't know, when you see a change, you don't know if you're dealing with this situation or this situation or this situation. That's the big problem with single subject design. But don't worry, there are ways that we can deal with this. One way is to use the ABAB reversal design. What does it mean? It means that to avoid that problem, you start with your baseline and then you have your treatment. As you see, the scores goes up, and then again you remove the treatment for a couple of days and you see the score goes down, and then you start your treatment again. So this way, because you're removing it and returning it, there is no way that the outside event happens every single time that you remove your treatment. So that's going to take care of that problem. So A means baseline and B means a treatment period or the treatment phase here. And this picture shows ABAB design in which the treatment is not effective. So you start with your baseline, and then you start your treatment, nothing changes. You remove your treatment, nothing changes. You get it back again, nothing changes. So definitely your treatment is not working. Now, even the ABAB design has its own limitation. One limitation is that after you remove your treatment, the correction continues. So you start something and you stop it, but the effect of that continues to work. And the second problem is an ethical problem, which means that sometimes when you see the treatment is working the first time, it's unethical to remove it just to do your experiment. Also, there are some variations of the ABAB design. One variation is you change your treatment. So your B treatment is not working, you intensify your B treatment, and then if it's not working, even the intensified version, you start a different treatment. So you have sort of flexibility when you're dealing with an individual subject or participant. A different version of the ABA design is that when your treatment doesn't work, instead of changing it to a different treatment, you add a second treatment to your first treatment. So in this example, you see this is the baseline, no treatment. You start your B treatment, which is the graduated exposure, and you see it didn't change anything. So next time you use both the graduated exposure and reinforcement, you see it's working. So in the next step or the next phase, you remove both of them and you see it goes back to baseline, and then again you apply both B and C treatment, and you see the scores goes up. So definitely the combination of B and C is working, because when you have them the score is up, and when you remove them the score goes down. And the other method is using multiple baseline design. Using a multiple baseline design eliminates the need for a return to baseline, because sometimes you don't want to go back to baseline. And also it's particularly useful for evaluating treatments with long lasting or permanent effects. You remember I just said that sometimes the effect of your first treatment stays with the participant for a while. So if you use multiple baseline, you don't have that problem either. So let's see what are the examples of multiple baseline design. There are basically three ways that you can do it. You can use two different behaviors, or you can use two different situations, or you can use two different participants. How it works, let me show you some examples. Here we are using two participants, person 1 and person 2. In order to make sure that your treatment is working, you start with your baseline. So for a few days you observe students 1, and then on say day 5 or 6 you start your treatment, and you see the behavior goes down. And then for the second student you observe the student for more than 5-6 days, maybe for 10 days or 2 weeks, and then you start your treatment after 2 weeks. The beauty of this method is that you have a better proof that your treatment is working, because if there is some outside event working for student 1, there is no way that the outside event exactly happens at the same time that you start your treatment for both participants. The second situation is when you work on two different behaviors. For example, you are working on yelling and crying behavior and of the same students. So you start your treatment for yelling on day 5, and you start your treatment for crying on day 12. And you see in both cases, or in both behaviors, as soon as you start your treatment the behavior changes. So you have a stronger proof that your treatment is working. And finally, sometimes you can do your treatment in two different situations. For example, you have a disruptive behavior from a participant or a student, and you start your treatment in school on day 5, and you start your treatment at home on day 14. And you see in both situations, as soon as you start your treatment the behavior changes. You have strong proof that your treatment is working.